Trump has held a telephonic conversation with Chinese President Xi Jinping. What was discussed were a host of issues, including the Ukraine-Russia peace deal that is being chalked out, fentanyls and soybeans as well. But what really has been a focal point of the discussion is Taiwan. Xi Jinping, in fact, pressed the United States president regarding China's position on the Taiwanese question. Xi Jinping has emphasized that Taiwan's return to China is an integral part of the post-war international order. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has stated that his phone call with Xi Jinping was very good. Both leaders, of course, discussed the war in Ukraine, fentanyl trafficking, and a deal for farmers in the United States of America. Now, this call has come weeks after the two leaders met in South Korea on the sidelines of the APEC summit, where they agreed to a framework for a trade deal that is, of course, yet to be finalized. He's also confirmed that he has accepted President Xi's invitation to visit Beijing in April 2026 and that he has invited President Xi for a state visit to the United States later in the year. With us on the broadcast is Mr. Gerard Alfil, economist and China strategist, joining us from Dubai. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. We've seen tensions simmering between Washington, D.C. and Beijing on the economic front for quite a while now. But these meetings have been taking place. We've seen what's taken place in the aftermath of the Trump-Xi summit in South Korea. Now, this phone call has been held as well. Is this an indication, some sort of signaling that relations can take an upward turn from now?
Good morning, Pia. Yes, I think so, because this signaling is to many directions. First, it's signaling to both sides, China and the US, that both sides are interested in continuing the good momentum, as President Xi says also, which is quoted today in the People's Daily, in China's biggest newspaper, to keep the good momentum of the tariff agreements, to have 10% reciprocal tariffs in place until November 2026. And also it's signaling to Europe that they are no longer so relevant in the global geopolitical strategies, because President Trump has put a peace plan for the Ukraine conflict in place. It was welcomed by several sides, but the Europeans raised concerns and they said, we will present our own plan. Now, with this phone call, which both sides welcomed, President Trump shows that Europe is no longer relevant in his strategy and planning. And also his phone call thereafter with the Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi says he signals that he has also other allies and he has other sides and probably also better things to do than listening to the Europeans. So the winners of both sides are China and the US. They want to keep mutually the momentum, and the losers in this case are the Europeans.
Indeed, there was, interestingly, as you've of course pointed out, Taiwan has been one of the focal points of the discussion. There's been a reaction coming in from the Taiwanese Premier, Cho Jung-tai, who stated that return to China is not an option for the island's 23 million people. You also refer to the fact that, there's an ongoing tiff between China and Japan after Prime Minister Takaichi's comments. How do you see the Taiwan question playing out from here on?
Well, Taiwan is part of China and will always be part of China. And President Xi has also said this in his message. This is an integral part of the foreign policy of China and will never change. Like California is part of the USA, Taiwan is part of China. And the comments by Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi earlier that Japan might intervene militarily if there will be action coming from the Chinese mainland is, of course, a bit far-fetched. See, I was in Xiamen last year in the Fujian province. I could see Taiwan from the Chinese mainland coastline. It's just 130 to 150 kilometers away. Japan is 2,144 kilometers away from Taiwan. So how this could be a so-called life-threatening issue for Japan, I think it's far-fetched and unrealistic, and the harsh reaction by Beijing to these comments were definitely justified. There may be a deal between China and the US that the US says, okay, we do our peace plan in Ukraine as we want to go forward, or we have also like maybe a free pass for other foreign policy priorities. and in exchange, China will get Taiwan without any resistance in the future.
Indeed, and speaking of Taiwan, of course, we've been tracking these comments. I request you to stay on with us, sir. Taiwanese Premier Cho Jung-tai has stated that a return to China is simply not an option for the island's 23 million people. His comments, of course, come after Chinese President Xi Jinping told US President Donald Trump that Taiwan's return is central to Beijing's worldview. Taiwan's government has rejected that claim, stressing that it is a fully sovereign and independent nation. Beijing continues to push its one country, two systems model. Meanwhile, tensions are high. Taipei has accused China of trying to distort World War II history and of increasing military pressure as well. Separately, Taiwan's defense ministry has now spotted another Chinese balloon crossing the Taiwan Strait. The island nation has stated that these are part of, as they claim, ongoing harassment. Beijing insists that the balloons are only for weather monitoring. Still with us on the broadcast is Mr. Gerard Alfil. Fresh statements coming in regarding a balloon that has now been spotted. China, of course, maintains that it is a regular weather monitoring balloon. But I also want to take a look at the larger picture. There are some independent analysts who are claiming that China is likely to carry out military action as far as Taiwan is concerned. Do you think this is likely to take place in the near future? And if so, hypothetically speaking, what interest then does the United States have in interfering? Could we see it happen under the Trump administration? Because Trump has, sort of warned China beforehand. He's tried to talk tough. But he's not someone who's quite inclined towards directly interfering in conflicts.
Yes, I mean, the US is also increasing pressure on Venezuela. There are already warships, US warships cruising north of the Latin American continent. And one scenario could be that the US might get distracted and has now then no reserves or no resources to focus on Taiwan, and then China could move forward. I don't think that China really considers the military card. I think they will increase the pressure until the air for the Taiwan region gets thinner and thinner. The interests, going back to your question on Taiwan in relation to the US and Japan, are in chips, in advanced chips manufacturing, in research and development, where they work closely together, and of course in exports from Taiwan, from the Taiwan region, which they can produce without the need of the Chinese mainland. I was in Tokyo in August earlier this year at a Web3 crypto conference, and there were a lot of crypto experts also from Taipei. So also in the for AI and the AI and Web3 and crypto world and the crypto economy, there are close links between Japan and Taiwan. Even the regulatory framework is quite similar between like in the Taiwan region and in Japan. I think the pressure will continue. Taiwan stays an integral part of China, and there might be either a deal, the military option by Beijing. I don't think so. I think there will be a smarter solution to bring both sides again together under one motherland.
All right, sir, with that, I'd like to thank you for taking our time, of course, sharing your analysis with us on NewsX World today. On that note, viewers, we're shifting focus towards further developments that we're tracking from East Asia. We're now learning